The Borgia Tragedy. The Fateful Dinner. Rome, June 14th, 1497. Two brothers. One dinner. Murder. Most families eat, laugh, and go home. Not the Borgias. When your father is the Pope and your brother blocks your path to power, dinner becomes a death sentence. Juan Borgia raises his wine cup, toasting his own genius. At 23, he's just slunk home from another military disaster, yet they're celebrating like he won. Red wine slushes over the rim, staining the white linen like blood. To new adventures, he grins, admiring himself in the silver. Across the table, Cesare sits frozen. At 22, he wears cardinal's robes and plots murder like chess. 5 years of this. Juan fails. Their Pope father throws feasts. Juan loses 50,000 ducats, gets rewarded with Spanish estates. Juan humiliates the family across Italy, gets handed more armies. Tonight, it ends. Cesare's hands lie flat on the wood. No tremor, no tell, pure control masking pure hate. Months of planning led here. Every shadow Juan will pass, every witness who will vanish. Their mother, Venosa, piles food on Juan's plate. Eat, my boy. You look thin. No questions. In this family, love needs no explanations. Juan pushes back, already dreaming of his next thrill. A mysterious woman. A secret rendezvous. Don't wait up, he smirks, adjusting his doublet. Some pleasures are worth the risk. He has no idea how right he is. Be careful tonight, Cesare says, the perfect note of brotherly concern in his voice. Rome is dangerous after dark. Juan waves him off. Who dare touch a Borgia? The question hangs like a blade. Juan hears proof of his invincibility. Cesare hears a challenge he's ready to answer. This dinner started like all the others. Juan's arrogance, Cesare's silence, their mother's blind love. By dawn, the Pope would have one less son. Cesare would have everything. All it cost was a soul he'd already sold. The corrupt election. To understand how a cardinal could plot his brother's murder while their Pope father blessed them both, we rewind 11 years. Back to the most corrupt papal election in history. Back to when Rodrigo Borgia bought the throne of St. Peter with sacks of silver, turning the Vatican into a family business that nearly tore Christianity apart. Imagine the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo's angels watching from the ceiling as God's representative is chosen. Now turn it into a market. Holy votes traded for cold, hard cash. August 10th, 1492. Midnight. Rome sleeps. But in the Vatican, servants scurry through shadowed halls, hauling leather bags heavy with bribes. Inside the chapel, 23 cardinals kneel, not in prayer, but in greed. Outside, Rodrigo Borgia's men deliver the final payments. The papacy, purchased. Rodrigo spent 36 years studying every cardinal's weakness. Who gambled, who kept mistresses, who dreamed of marble monuments. Cardinal Ascanius falls a crave power, gets vice-chancellor and 4 mules piled with silver. Cardinal Orsini lusted for land, pockets castles, and 5,000 ducats yearly. One by one, holy vows crumble. Dawn breaks. White smoke rises. Rodrigo emerges as Pope Alexander VI, but his real test waits in his chambers. For children stare back at him with Venosa Dei Catania's dark eyes, his beautiful, brilliant, illegitimate heirs. Europe demands answers. The cardinals who sold their votes demand payment. The church demands purity. Alexander makes his choice, family over faith. In that moment, he plants the seeds of a tragedy that will drown his bloodline in blood. The Borgia heirs. 4 siblings. 1 throne. A dynasty about to implode. Meet the children who'd reshape Renaissance Europe and destroy each other. Juan, 23, the golden failure. Beloved despite losing every battle he commands. Cesare, 22, the caged genius. Forced into cardinal's robes while dreaming of swords. Lucrezia, 17, the pawn. Brilliant and beautiful, already married off for political gain. Joffre, 16, the shadow, forgotten while his siblings burned. Within months, the family curdles. Pope Alexander VI dumps his twisted love onto Juan, celebrating defeats as victories. rewarding incompetence with titles, showering him with stolen church gold. Meanwhile, Cesare watches, silent, still, red robes hiding volcanic rage. From chapel corners, he tracks every slight. Juan gifted Spanish estates after losing 50,000 ducats of Vatican money. Juan handed new armies after humiliating the Borgia name across Italy. Their father's face lighting up at Juan's every stumble. 5 years, the same sick cycle. 1. Juan fails. 2. Alexander throws a feast. 3. Juan's rewarded. 4. Cesare's pride bleeds. By 1497, that knife twists too deep. Something snaps in the cardinal. The brilliant son became a patient predator, and Juan's time was running out. The murder. Back to that candlelit table where two brothers share their final meal. Dawn won't find two sons alive. As Juan boasts about his secret rendezvous, the air chills. Cesare's face? A mask. Years in cardinal's robes taught him to bury every feeling. But behind those eyes, a mind that once memorized scripture now orchestrates murder. Months of planning crystallize in this moment. Juan's habits made it easy. The same route through Rome's crooked alleys. The same arrogant swagger. The same delusion that being the Pope's favorite made him invincible. Tonight, that delusion kills him. Cesare accepted the truth. His father would never choose the right son. Only one solution remained. Midnight, Rome's Jewish quarter. Juan leaves a villa with his mysterious companion, exactly as Cesare scripted. The masked man, Cesare's pawn, spinning tales of a forbidden lover. Juan, ever predictable, bought the lie. Cesare slips from his palace an hour later. No god questioned the cardinal's prayers. Rome's shadows had killers tonight, but none deadlier than a psychopath with the Vatican's gold. At Ponte Sant'Angelo, Cesare meets Micheletto Corella in darkness. His personal butcher asks no questions. That's why he's still breathing. Tonight, just another entry in their ledger of deaths. The kill zone. Juan strides alone toward the riverbank brothel. Guide vanished. Moonlight glints off his rings as he swaggers, a man who believes Borgia blood equals immortality. Cesare watches from the shadows. Juan looks like their father, handsome, clueless, blind to the truth that brains beat bloodline. For a heartbeat, something almost human flickers in Cesare's eyes. Then it dies. 9 shadows detach from doorways. Not thieves. Professionals. Juan's voice rings out. Do you know who I am? They know. That's why he dies. The staging. Made to look like robbery. Purse emptied. Jewelry gone. Fancy doublet ripped in struggle. But the 9 stab wounds scream truth. Too precise, too vicious a chance. Professional murder dress is street crime. The body hits the Tiber's dark water. At dawn, fishermen will drag Pope Alexander VI's golden sun from the mud. Aftermath and ascension. Dawn finds Cesare back in his chambers. Before a polished mirror, he rehearses devastation. A dress rehearsal for grief. When servants crash him with news of Juan's disappearance, his collapse is Oscar-worthy. Hours later, fishermen drag a body from the Tiber. Cesare's public anguish? Masterclass. Pope Alexander offers a king's ransom for clues. Cesare adds his own gold to the bounty, sobbing about justice for his beloved brother. The investigation dies at birth. Witnesses evaporate into Rome's underworld. Evidence trails point toward the Vatican. Papal guards suddenly develop urgent business elsewhere. By August 1498, Cesare makes history. He resigns from the College of Cardinals. First voluntary exit ever. The dominoes fall. October 1498. Inherits Juan's armies and French alliances. 1499. Leads papal troops with his father's blessing. The only son left to trust. The perfect crime. The perfect reward. Juan's death solved everything. The wrong brother. Erased. The right path. Cleared. All it cost was a soul he'd so long ago. With his brother's blood as mortar, Cesare Borgia finally built the empire he was born to rule. Cesare's transformation. Murder changes most men. For Cesare Borgia, killing his brother was just lesson 1 in becoming something new. October 1498. In his private chambers, Cesare strips off the cardinal's robes forever. Red silk pools on marble like bloodstains. Each foe to life he's shedding. No more pretending to serve God. New faith? Power. But this isn't symbolic theater. It's a military revolution. Hires genius engineers who design cannons that shatter medieval walls. Buys cutting-edge artillery from French foundries, not toys for feudal boys. Recruits professional killers, not peasant levies who flee at first blood. His true weapon isn't steel or gunpowder, terror. While other commanders count soldiers, Cesare studies fear. Maps enemy family trees to find hostages. Identifies which fortress lord bribes his own guards. Learns which rival warlord cries himself to sleep. By the time Borgia banners stain the horizon, half his enemies are already broken. The cardinal was dead. The conqueror was born. The conquests. Cesare's first target prove his method. Caterina Sforza, warrior queen of Forli. Everything one failed to be. Her fortress stood defiant for 3 weeks, until Cesare's French cannon shattered medieval walls. When dust cleared, he took her captive personally. Rumors exploded. The Pope's son claimed the she-wolf as his prize. True or not, the terror worked. Italy learned. Surrender equals survival. Resistance equals ruin. What followed was conquest refined to dark art. Faenza fell after 5 months. Its teenage lord trusted Cesare's safe passage promise, then floated in the Tiber. Urbino surrendered in one night. Borgia troops materialized like ghosts at dawn. By 1502, Cesare's formula was perfected. 1. Overwhelming force. 2. 3. Strategic mercy. 4. 5. Annihilation for repeat resistors. 6. Machiavelli's education. October 1502. Florence sends diplomat Niccolò Machiavelli to assess this new threat. He expected a brute. He found a philosopher tyrant. Machiavelli watched mesmerized as Cesare debated Cicero while signing death warrants. Chose executions with the same calm as vintage wine. Every campaign was a lesson in calculated cruelty. Every dinner, a lecture on power. New Year's Eve, 1502, the masterclass. For rival warlords accepted Cesare's reconciliation feast. They expected forgiveness. They got ropes. Strangled before midnight. Bodies displayed as New Year's decorations. Machiavelli called it magnificent deception, the perfect marriage of strategy and terror. He took notes. History got the prince. The fragile empire. By 1503, Cesare Borgia ruled an empire stretching from Rome to Bologna. His name froze blood from Venice to Naples. Tribute overflowed his coffers. One problem. All this power hung by a single thread, a 73-year-old pope's heartbeat. The poisoned feast. August 12, 1503. An elegant invitation arrives. Cardinal Adriano de Corneto's summer dinner. Relief from Rome's suffocating heat. Pope Alexander VI accepts eagerly. At 73, he still craved wit and wine, the elixirs of youth. Cesare joins him, though shadows haunt his eyes. Empire building exhausted him. Endless campaigns. Webs of betrayal. The crushing weight of terror. Neither suspects this dinner will unravel their dynasty in days. The Last Supper. Corneto's villa. Cool breezes, laughing fountains, perfect host. The wine flows, a suspiciously fine vintage from northern hills. Alexander dominates the table. Stories of his youth. Eyes bright with nostalgia and alcohol. Cesare sits unnaturally still. Head throbbing for days. Wine only deepens the ache. Appearances must be kept. Enemies circle like vultures. Midnight, the turn. Not warmth, but burning. Not dizziness, but walls breathing. Alexander rises first. The heat affects me. Cesare follows. Face ghostly in candlelight. Dawn finds them. Sheets soaked with fever sweat. Skin burning to the touch. The Borgia Empire collapsing faster than fortress walls. Collapse. Rome in August. A fever cauldron. Malaria rose in the marshes like a curse, devouring rich and poor. Physicians shrugged, summer plague. But when the victims were Borgias, whispers exploded. Too many enemies, too convenient. Rumors spread of Cantarella, the ghost poison mimicking fever, granting victims time to repent. Revenge or cruel irony? Truth didn't matter. The Borgia Empire had one fatal flaw, built on a 73-year-old pope's heartbeat. Alexander VI, exhausted by decades of sin and stress, now failing, fast, the deathbed, day 5 of fever. Alexander summons Cesare. The hand that once blessed kingdoms now trembles, reaching for his son's face. I failed Juan, failed as a father. His clouded eyes lock onto Cesare with terrifying clarity. But you surpassed every dream. You're all I have left. A dying grip tightens. Promise me, be careful. The wolves are gathering. Alexander raves. Delirious visions of children and damnation. Beside him, Cesare battles the same fire. Not for life, for empire. He knew what waited outside. Allies recalculating loyalties. Vulture enemies sharpening knives. An empire held by fraying threads of fear. August 18th, 1503. Under a pitiless sun, Pope Alexander VI exhales one last time. With that breath, the Borgia dynasty begins its death spiral. The fall, August 18th, 1503. Cesare stands in his father's death chamber. Alone, no divine authority, no papal gold, just a 30-year-old holding an empire built on sand. The collapse is instant. Swiss guards abandon Vatican posts. Enemy families surge toward Rome. Senegalia revolts. His tax collector butchered in the square he once controlled. Betrayals rain like cannon fire. French allies return his letters unopened. Charlotte d'Albret's family files for annulment. European courts race to denounce him. His army? Evaporated. Mercenaries sell their swords elsewhere. September's cruel hope. Desperate bribery buys a lifeline. Pope Pius III elected. A Borgia ally. For 26 days, Cesare dares to breathe. Then Pius dies. The last thread snaps. The trap. Enter Cardinal Giuliano della Rovere, Cesare's oldest enemy. October shadows. Della Rovere whispers salvation. Back my papacy. I'll restore your lands. Protect you from wolves. Desperate, exhausted, Cesare forgets his father's final warning. The world is full of enemies. He trusts. Judgment. The moment Della Rovere becomes Pope Julius II, promises rot to dust. Arrest warrants issued. Territories declare independence. The papal treasury slams shut. Cesare Borgia, the terror of Italy, becomes a hunted rat in his own palace. November 18th, 1503. Papal guards drag him through Vatican corridors. The same halls where he plotted his brother's murder. The same halls where his father crowned him prince. The empire born in sacred stone dies in its own dungeon. The aftermath. 3 months. That's all it took to cage Europe's most feared man. An empire built over 11 years, with blood, brilliance, and terror, crumbled in one season. Machiavelli watched, stunned from Florence. Fortunes will spin faster than strategy. Courts across Europe whisper the lesson. All power rests on foundations of sand. Cesare didn't fall to armies or rebels. He fell because his entire empire balanced on one old man's heartbeat. When it stopped, the Borgia world stopped with it. Imprisonment. Pope Julius II didn't want Cesare dead. He wanted him broken. Spanish protection was a lie, a slow death sentence wrapped in diplomacy. Shipped like cargo from Vatican dungeons, Cesare entered his new world. Castle of Chinchilla, Medina del Campo. For 2 years, the conqueror became a stone counter. His genius, once bent on kingdoms, now obsessed over escape routes. Hands that commanded armies now braided rope from stolen bedsheets. The last gamble. October 1506. An 80-foot drop in pitch darkness. Rope made of desperation. Ribs cracked. Bones shattered. But his will held. At 31, the Duke of Valentinois crawled through Spanish dirt. Bleeding but free. Death in the mud. Navarre. His final refuge. A brother-in-law's crumbling kingdom. One last battlefield. Spring 1507, flashes of the old terror. Cavalry charges like lightning. Siege tactics that made Vienna's walls tremble. For a moment, the legend lived. March 12, 1507. A dawn skirmish. A forgotten ditch. Cesare Borgia, separated, cornered by soldiers who didn't know his face. The end, stabbed in a muddy field. Stripped naked by looters seeking treasure. They found empty pockets. Later, a gravestone. Here lies in Little Earth one who was feared by all. But fear had long turned to dust. Devastating details. 1. Tragic tempo. 2. 1. 3 months /11 years. Contrast hits like a hammer. 2. 3. Crumpled in one season. Organic decay metaphor. 4. 3. Prison poetry. 4. 1. Stone counter. Ultimate reduction of genius. 2. 3. Hands that commanded armies now braided rope. Visual tragedy. 4. 5. Escape brutality. 6. 1. Ribs cracked. Bones shattered. But his will held. Triplet rhythm. 2. 7. Death irony. 8. 1. Stripped naked. Found empty pockets. Symbolic of his fallen legacy. 2. 3. Killer's ignorance. Didn't know his face. 4. 9. Epitaph echo. 10. 1. Feared by all. Fear had long turned to dust. Historical erasure. 2. Final truth. Cesare Borgia died at 31, younger than most begin their lives. Cardinal, killer, emperor, prisoner, corpse. A lifetime of extremes, extinguished in a muddy ditch. Epilogue. Machiavelli's haunting. Florence, 1513. Niccolo Machiavelli stays at blank parchment. Exiled, powerless, tormented by a ghost. Cesare Borgia's face won't leave him. Every night, when he tries to write a virtue, the brother killer appears. The man who debated Cicero, then ordered strangulations. The monster who proved politics and morality occupied different worlds. Writing the unthinkable. His pen shakes over Chapter 7. How to explain. Conquered cities preferred Borgia's rule. Crime vanished under his boots. Trade boomed in his shadow. The devil delivered peace. Machiavelli glances at Florence's chaos outside his window. Factions brawling in piazzas. Corruption rotting the republic. Cesare would have ended this in a week. Brutally. Efficiently. Damning his soul to save the state. The terrible truth. Words bleed onto the page. Effectiveness not equal to morality. State survival demands actions that shatter conscience. The prince takes shape, a handbook written in Borgia blood. 1. Crush threats before they breathe. 2. Overwhelm to minimize bloodshed. 3. Govern better than the rulers you replace. 4. Trust interests, not oaths. Yet he documents Cesare's fatal flaws. Built on a father's heartbeat, not institutions. Trusted enemies' promises when desperation bit. Made too many rivals too fast. Immortality in ink. When the book finishes, Machiavelli feels no pride, only dread. He has created a monster's manual for kings. Years pass. Princes devour its lessons. France builds professional armies. Spain crushes nobles into obedience. Fear becomes statecraft. Marriage becomes strategy. The irony chokes him. Cesare's empire lasted 11 years. His methods will rule for centuries. The man who died nameless and might achieve what saints couldn't. He taught power how to survive. Late at night, Machiavelli wonders, was preserving these lessons wisdom? Or his greatest sin? Legacy, the Borgia test. 5 centuries later, Machiavelli's torment is our torment. The Borgias didn't invent corruption, dynastic greed, or power lust. They weaponized it. Look at modern holes of power. Political clans treating nations like family heirlooms. Preachers amassing wealth while selling salvation. Charismatics demanding loyalty over law. The faces change. The playbook doesn't. Apply the Borgia test to any leader. Family versus duty. Who wins when blood conflicts with public good? Morality versus results. Which gets sacrificed at the altar of effectiveness? Institutions versus ego. Are they building systems or personal fiefdoms? We pretend we've evolved. The Borgias whisper, human nature wears new costumes. Nothing more. Their story forces the questions we duck. Can greatness wash blood from its hands? Do ends ever justify monstrous means? When does corruption become the system's DNA? The numbers still haunt. 11 years to build an empire on fear. 3 months for it to implode. 500 years of influence poisoning politics. Cesare murdered his brother for a throne that lasted a decade. But his tactics outlived empires. 1. Divide enemies. 2. Reward loyalty brutally. 3. Eliminate threats without flinching. 4. Control the story at all costs. The real question isn't were they evil. It's what do we do with their blueprint? Study it as a warning. All perfect as a manual. The Borgia's true legacy. They force us to admit the darkest truth. Their capacity lives in us all. The only difference, opportunity, and the will to pay the price.